So it is 2 after, so I think we can go ahead and get started now. So thank you all for joining me. This is our 4th and final webinar in the series that we've been doing over the past couple of weeks relating to properly setting up your Comeet and making sure all that data looks great for your reports. So if we haven't met yet, or if this is your first time joining, my name is Beth. I'm here with Esther. We are part of the customer success team at Comeet. Esther is actually our in-house expert when it comes to reporting and constructing your BI reports. So that's what we're going to hone in on today. It's going to be your insights. So in our previous webinars, we discussed, how to properly set up your account so that the data that's going to be presented to you and your team, whether it's, in the in-house reports within Comeet or in the insights reports, which we'll be looking at today, all that data is accurate. You know how to read it, you know how to share it with your team or with yourself, obviously. So if you somehow or just happen to miss our previous webinars, we do have those recorded, so we're happy to share them with you. Just let us know. We will be recording this one today, and we'll be sending it out probably tomorrow. This webinar is going to take probably about a half an hour. We will leave time for questions at the end, though I do encourage you to kind of drop questions in the Zoom chat or in the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom there, and then we can make sure we get to them at the end. So I'm actually going to turn off my video today because we are recording, and I don't want to have everyone distracted by all my hand movements, my facial expressions, and all that fun stuff. Alrighty. So moving through our deck here. Again, the webinar today is going to be about 30 minutes. We are going to discuss our insights reporting. Esther is going to take you through all of those so you know how to accurately read those reports and understand what you're looking at. Alrighty, what's new? So we have talked about what's new over the past few webinars, but just as a reminder, at any point, if you want to, take a look at what we're releasing, if you haven't seen any messages from us, or maybe you just want to review what has recently come out, you can navigate to the top right-hand corner of your Comeet. You will see a little question mark symbol, and that's going to be left of kind of your command center, so the left of your company name there. Once you click on that question mark, it will give you a drop down saying what's new in Comeet. We definitely encourage you to take a look at that. Again, the past few webinars, we have reviewed a lot of the new features we've been rolling out. So if you missed any of those, again, you can take a look at what's new in Comeet by using this feature within the platform, or we can send you those webinar recordings that we have completed for you. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Esther. I will be back at the end to kind of summarize what we talked about, but Esther, why don't you take it away?
All right, great. Thanks, Beth. So what we really want to talk about today is kind of going over the insight reports. So let's kind of just dive straight in. So I'm going to switch here. So as you can see here, so this is going to be your regular kind of Comeet. Which is something that you guys should all know. So once you select your company name, then you're going to have here something that's called Comeet Insights. And once you select it, it's going to take you into a new tab directly into the Insights. If you guys don't see this, then please feel free to reach out to the support and we'll make sure to open this up for you guys. It's no additional cost, you guys, sometimes we just have to switch that on for you. In terms of who it's open for, this is going to be open for anyone who's written as either a recruiter or a manager within Comeet. So if you're one of those two, you're going to be able to get these reports and really kind of deep dive into them. So I'm just going to open that up here. So this is the general view that we're going to have. So what are these reports really coming to give you? We understand the importance of the reports. Right? They're important to stay on top of your recruiting processes. It's to make your processes as effective as possible, right? So you can learn from the past as well as staying on top of things, of what's happening today. That's really the two sides of what we're trying to bring to you. So let's dive straight in. So we have here on the left-hand side, these are going to be the reports. So we have what we have shown here are two folders. We have the core reports, which are only open to everyone, and the ultimate, which are open to our ultimate enterprise customers. Today we're going to be going over the first 3 reports within the core section. But if you have, and once we finish those, you guys can keep going through that additional report. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer any questions which come up. So for now, I'm just going to kind of fold that in. If you can just do that with this middle tab. And if you ever want to bring out the reports again, you can just go to the middle again and press that tab and it will bring it right out. But for now, I'm going to just collapse that so we can see it a bit better. So these are the reports that we have. So we have in the center is going to be obviously the report itself. And on the right-hand side, you're going to have the filters. And these are going to be important because a lot of times you're going to want to bring your report into context. So for example, if your company is located in more than one location and you're in charge of one location, then you might not necessarily want to see what's happening throughout your entire company. You might want to see only what's happening within your location. And that makes a lot of sense. So it's going to be very important to put the entire report into context according to the question which interests you. So you're going to be able to use these filters in order to do that. And we'll see a bit more how we can do that in a moment. One more thing that's important just before we deep dive into the actual report is noticing this date up here. So it is important to know that with Insights, we do update the data once a day. So we update it once every 24 hours. You'll be able to see the exact time in which it was updated here. And if you made a change within Comeet today, it might take you until, for example, the next day in order to see that information updated.
Hey, Esther.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting some reports that's a little choppy on your end coming through. So I'm not sure if it's Wi-Fi or if there's, you know, a change we could make, or if it's still coming through. We can hear you, but just so you know.
Okay, thanks. So I'll close the window and hopefully that's going to help just so that we don't get maybe noise from outside. Give me one moment.
Sure.
Okay, apologize for that. Hopefully this is going to be a bit better.
Okay, great. Thanks, Esther. Sorry for interrupting.
It's important that you guys hear what we say, otherwise there's no point really doing this, so that's good. Keep reporting if you have issues here. Okay, so now let's go through the actual report. So the first report is the hiring dashboard. This is having to tell you what the current status is of the positions which are currently open. This is really telling you how things today. So we see the number of open positions, the number of open openings, as well as the open positions by department and by location. And then we also have open positions by hiring manager and lead recruiter. So this is going to give you kind of a great breakdown just of what the current status is. Now we said that we might want to use some filters. So let's see about a few different ways of how we can see that now. One way is just coming to where you see the section which interests you and selecting it straight from the graph. And that's going to filter everything down. And you can see it also affected the filter here on the right. We can remove that filter in 3 ways. Either selecting it again here within the graph itself, we can do clear selection, or we can remove it from the filter here on the right-hand side, where we select the little pencil, and we can select everything again and press OK. And we can see everything goes back to normal. So let's continue down a bit. The next important part that we see, I'm going to collapse this as well, is we can see a table of the current position and openings. Now I think that this is a really important table because it gives you in one view the status of all of your open positions at the moment. So you can see what the position is, the location, department, hiring manager, and lead recruiter. So that's going to be more the dry information regarding the position. But then you can also see what's the most advanced step with pending candidates. So that's really going to tell you how far along are you in the process, the number of candidates who reach that most advanced step. So really, again, just trying to get a broad overview of where you're standing, as well as how many current openings you have for that position, the number of days open. So here we're taking the maximum. So if you have more than one opening open, then we're going to take the maximum number of days open. So we're going to take the opening that was open first and count how many days have passed. If you use pending approval, where the openings need approval, then you can also see how many are waiting to get approval. And if you use a feature for future openings where you say, I want to know where you can set the that opening will open in the future, then you'll also be able to see that here. I want to take this opportunity to also talk about downloading the report. A lot of times you're going to want to download this information to use into one of your, just use internally. So we have a few ways to do that. If you want to download the entire report, then you can either press PDF here to download it as a PDF, or you can select the 3 dots and then download either as a PDF or an image. You can also get it to your email if you prefer. This is better. I will have to kind of turn this toggle on for us, but again, just reach out through support and you'll be able to get it to your email. But sometimes you just want a specific widget where you say, I really like this, I just want this one picture for one of my reports. So the minute that if you don't stand on it, then you won't see the dots, but the minute you hover on the widget, you'll be able to see that 3 dots appear. And then if you select those dots, you'll be able to select download either as image or as CSV file. The last portion of this is that with tables, a lot of times you're going to want to download it as an Excel. So specifically with tables, if you select the 3 dots, you'll also have additional download options, which also include Excel. Okay, great. So the first section of the hiring dashboard report was really going over the current status of positions. The next section is looking at candidates. So with candidates, kind of ordered it from how we see maybe most important to least important, if we can put it that way. So we start off by new hires. So these are people you hired but didn't start yet. So you're going to be able to get this. This can be great, you know, maybe to send to your IT, you know, when to get things ready, for example. You might also want to notice that wherever we list candidates, you're always going to have a URL. So you can click it and it will take you straight into the candidate page within Comeet itself. So we're very for integration within your Comeet platform. Next, we have upcoming interviews. So if you have an interview scheduled, which didn't happen yet, so you'll be able to see that list here. Next, we have candidates awaiting decision. These are candidates who completed all steps of the workflow and are just waiting for that final decision. So we just want to kind of bring them to your attention to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks, to make sure because they already passed through all the steps, they probably mean that they're of interest to you. So we want to make sure that we're not kind of forgetting about them. So you can see when the date of the last exchange was, just to make sure that you're on top of them. Next, we have advanced candidates. These are candidates who completed at least 1 interview. And here you can see what their current step is, who it's assigned to, and how many days they've been waiting in this step. Now here, we're looking at demo data. So we have a lot of very high numbers. Obviously, we're not expecting to see this long when you're looking in your reports. And we mark in orange any candidate who kind of passes the threshold over a certain number of days. Just to kind of, again, it's not to tell you, come on guys, you're doing something wrong. It's really just to come and be a tool for you to kind of make sure that you're on top of things, that you know what's happening with your candidates. So again, see this really just as a tool that can help you make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. Next, we have qualified candidates who require attention. These are going to be candidates who passed screening, but are pending for over 4 days with no scheduled interviews. So again, these are people who are a bit earlier on in the process, but again, we just kind of want to make sure that they're not falling through the cracks there. The last section is the weekly activity. Here you can see the number of new candidates by position. So one just kind of technical issue is that if you ever see this, then it acts as a zoom. So if you have a lot of information, you could zoom up just so that you can see things a bit more clearly. So what you're going to have here are 2 color bars, and this is a demo account. So not have quite as much information here. But in the dark blue, you're going to see the number of candidates who joined in the last 7 days. And then in the light blue gray, you're going to be able to see the number of candidates who joined in the previous period. So this is going to be very interesting if in the previous period you had, for example, 100 new candidates applied to a position, and in the last 7 days only 20 new candidates, then that might want to raise some value, and just to kind of ask yourself, is that okay? Are you okay that less candidates are coming in? Maybe you fill the position, maybe you feel like you got enough candidates, and then that's great, that's okay. But if you say, no, we still need more candidates to join, then it can raise that flag for you that you're not getting as many candidates as you want, and maybe you can start republishing the position on different sites, just to try and start getting new candidates coming in again. So again, this is all the hiring dashboard, is the current status, always just to raise awareness, to make sure that you're on top of everything. We have the same idea, not only with new candidates, but also candidates who completed phone interviews, as well as those who completed in-person and video interviews. That's really trying to show you kind of the entire workflow. So unless we have any questions regarding this report, I want to move over to the next one. The next report is geared towards the hires. So while in the last report, we didn't have a date filter, just because there we're really only showing what the current status was. Here we're looking at hires, so we're looking at what happened in the past. So here it's very important that you guys can also control the time period that you're looking at. As a default, we have last quarter. We have a lot of flexibility here in terms of how you want to look at things. So I want to take a moment just to kind of show you the level of flexibility and how you can use this filter. So the first option is by time frame. So this is going to be relative to today. So you can look at it by quarters, but you might want a different time frame. So you can select here and do this by years, quarters, months, weeks, and days. You can also do it by calendar if you want to select specific days, or a list. If you say, I only want due to 2020, then instead of trying to think, is last quarter, is that 2 quarters ago? You can just do that from here. And also here, it doesn't have to be quarters. You can do that also by the different time frames. So for now, let's leave that last quarter. So we can see here that we had 5 candidates were hired. Then we also have the time to hire and the apply to hire. The time to hire is looking at the time since when the opening was open until when the candidate was hired. That's going to be very important information from the company's point of view, from your point of view, kind of looking to see how long does it take me to fill the position. So this can be important whether you want to decrease the time, or even if you just want to know in the future, you say, okay, I want to open up another that same position, and you want to know around how long is it going to take me to fill that position. You can go back in time, you can just remove this time period, filter down to the position that you're going to want to fill in the future, and see what the average time hire was in the past, so you know what you can expect now in the future. Next, we have the apply to hire. So if the time to hire was more from your point of view, from the company's point of view, the apply to hire is more from the candidate's point of view. Since when they applied, how long did it take until you hired them? So this is going to be important more when we're talking about the candidate experience. How long did they have to wait until they were hired? So next, as we scroll down, we're going to be able to see the number of hires broken down by different metrics. So we have by location, we're going to have a pie chart as well as over time, by department, and lastly by source type. Following the different breakdowns, we also have the raw data, so you can see exactly who was hired, who the candidate was, their hire date, their start date, time to hire, time to onboard, and apply to hire. So here you're just going to get all that information more as an Excel that you, just as a table that you can break down. So this is going to be important, especially as you have higher numbers and you want to start investigating certain numbers. So for example, you're interested in the agencies, you can select this and filter down and see exactly what the numbers are. Great. I think we're on to the last report that we actually wanted to cover today. So that's going to be the sources overview. We know that sources are very important to you guys as recruiters. So what we want to do in this report is really try and give you just an overview to try and understand what the status of the different source types, kind of how many candidates are they sending over to you? Are they relevant candidates, or are you just wasting time on them? So also here, you're going to have a time filter. So for now, I think I'm actually going to extend this and just include all times just to increase the numbers a bit. So we can see how many candidates were added by source type. So you can see in this example, we have the most is from agencies. We can see that distribution also over time. Next, we can see the source performance. So we see by source type, you can see the source name, how many candidates were added for that source, how many of those completed screening, that's going to be the first go, no go, and then how many of those passed screening. That means if completed screening is how many of them just finished the go, no go, past screening is going to be how many of the candidates got a go within the go, no go. And lastly, we have the qualified ratio. So we're just doing kind of a simple calculation, looking at how many past screening compared to how many of those actually complete the screening. It's going to be just when you're looking at higher numbers, it's going to be very easy kind of to see if there's someone who's really giving you a lot of work with not a lot of a qualified candidate. So if you have some source that has a low percentage, for instance, 10%, and you see that they're giving you thousands of applicants, that's using up a lot of your resources. So that's going to be important to know. The next section is looking at the source performance by position. So I want to kind of give you an example of how we're going to want to use this and why this is so important. So let's take, for example, an agency which had a fairly low percentage. Let's just take, for example, top hire. Again, this is going to be a lot more relevant when you have the higher numbers. Obviously, if only 15 candidates, that's not the end of the world, even if they don't have a high pass-through rate. So you're going to want to come here to the filters and filter down to that source name. I'm going to come here and go to top hire. You can also just use this for agencies. It's really according to the question of kind of what's important to you. So I took this agency just as an example, and then I'm coming down to the positions. Now, the reason why this is so important is that many times a source is going to be very good for a certain type of position or for a certain department, but not so good for other departments. So that's why it's not enough for me to say that in general an agency has a low percentage. I'm going to want to see where they're getting that low percentage from. So for example, here I might be able to say, well, maybe they're not so good in all of the R&D positions, but maybe they are good in marketing positions. So that's where kind of filtering down and looking by position is going to give you much better granular insights regarding how exactly you want to be utilizing each source. So it's kind of a balance between not wasting your time, but still retaining them for the for the correct positions. And that's really what this report is coming to provide you with. So before I hand it back over to Beth, I do want to note one more thing, that within the Insight reports, we do have this pool position filter. So by default, it's going to usually be on no. But if you ever want to include pool positions, you are going to be able to include them here. And that's going to be one of the differences compared to our in-app report, where there, by default, you just don't have pool positions included, and it's not going to be something that you'll be able to include. So here you do have that option of adding them on if they're ever of interest to you. Great, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to write to us in the Q&A section. And I do suggest kind of going over these reports again, as well as the other reports, and just reaching out to us if you have any questions, because I think that they can really give you a lot of insights in terms of what the current status is, as well as how you can maybe improve your processes and really elevate your hiring process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Esther. That was very helpful. We do appreciate it. So just kind of a recap of what Esther just took us through. We took a look at your Insights core reports. Esther covered your hiring dashboard, your hires overview, as well as your sources overview. And as you could see from what she was showing you, there were a bunch of other reports within the core reports. So Esther has actually recorded previously a training both in English and Hebrew on these reports. So we're going to link those in the email that we send to you as a follow-up, so you will have access to them. With that being said, anytime you have questions when looking at these reports, please reach out to us. We're definitely here to help you and make sure that everything looks great and everything is, accurate and you can read it properly. So I'm just going to do a recap kind of everything we've covered in the last few weeks, and then we can open the floor up to questions here. So in our first training, a training webinar, what we covered was openings and how to properly create them, and really how important openings are. So ultimately, the data that you create within your openings are going to be a part of your main KPIs. So your time to hire, apply to hire, time to onboard, things along those lines. So we definitely suggest, if you haven't yet started to use the openings functionality within Comeet, that you get in there and, start taking advantage of that. So ultimately your reports look as, great as they can. Moving to our next slide here, this is actually when you're creating an opening, what it's going to look like. So you have the ability to name your opening. You can change or keep the open date. So if you want to retroactively change that time, you do have the ability to do so, as well as the expected hire. So if you want to have a plan as to when you're going to be making hires in the future, you can change that information here. You can mark the reason as to why you're creating this opening. So is it new? Are you replacing someone? Is it a temporary replacement? Maybe someone's going on maternity or paternity leave. You can mark that. As well as create multiple openings within the opening that you're creating. So again, definitely suggest and highly encourage you get in there and make sure all that data is set up properly. We also talked about step templates, which is a new feature that we rolled out not too long ago. So if you haven't seen this yet, it might look new to you right now. And once you get into Comeet, it'll look new to you there as well. So if you have questions, definitely let us know. This is, again, going to be really important when it comes to your reporting. It's going to streamline how you name the different steps in your workflows. So it provides you a closed list of the names that you can choose. Again, down the line, making sure that it gives you proper reporting. We also have our job description here. So a few things that are really important when it comes to these reports are your location, your departments, your position ID numbers, your employment, your seniority. And again, this is going to be really great in reports when it comes to breaking down the data that you're looking for. So if you want to specifically look at, a location and how that location is doing within the recruitment process, you can do that. If you don't have that information, filled out within your job description, obviously you won't be able to get as granular as you might like to when you're pulling those reports. Your hiring team as well, you want to make sure that people are properly assigned to the steps that they should be, or to the roles that they should be. When it comes to insights specifically, you do have the ability to narrow down the reports by hiring manager, by lead recruiter, by different recruiters, so you can see how everyone's doing in the process, and really take that knowledge to either speak to those people about what's going on, or to see maybe a certain position, if they're not being filled fast enough, you can work together to see what the issue might be. And then we also have our reports here, which have been kind of the gold of all of these webinars. So we have our in-house reports, as well as our insights reports. Once everything is properly set up, you're gonna have a field day with pulling these reports and using them to really be able to evaluate your process and how everything is going. Alrighty, so we definitely want your feedback. If you want to see more webinars that cover certain topics, definitely let us know. We're always open to suggestions. Feedback in general on the webinars would be greatly appreciated as well. And I think that's going to take us to our questions. So we'll start my video again here, so you can see me looking at your questions and answering them for you. So let me just open this up here and see what we've got. All right, Esther, there is a question about reports being emailed. So I know we covered that, but if you just want to clarify how people can email those.
Yeah, so at the moment, you are still going to have to kind of reach out to support and just tell us exactly which reports you're going to want to be sent to your email, because it's going to be a per report. We're just going to be turning that on. And then by default, it's going to be set for a certain day. But I'm going to show you now kind of how you're going to be able to change that day, just so that you know. So you're going to have this kind of envelope on top. So you're going to select that. You can also press send me a report now, just so that you can see how it's going to look. It will send it to your email. And then you can select whether you want it just to be in the email, PDF, attachment, both. You can also edit exactly how it's viewed. And then once it's kind of toggled on for you, once we're going to include the email subscription for you for a specific report, then you're also going to be able to change the frequency. So that's going to be something that you're going to be able to control. You'll be able to pick which day, at what hour, and of course the time zone. And then you'll just press save, so that you're going to be able to have that level of flexibility once we turn it on for you.
Awesome, thank you so much. If anyone needs
Sorry, I will add one more thing, Beth, sorry. One thing that you should notice is that it's going to send you the information based on the filters that you have applied at the time of the email being sent. So I think that is important to kind of note, but at the top of the screen is it's going to tell you what filters are applied when it sends you that PDF.
Awesome, thank you. It looks like we have one here that says every time they go into the report, it only shows some of the data. Can they set it up to always show all the data?
Okay, so what happens a lot of times is that filters are just kind of, we're forgetting to remove the filters after we use them. So they're going to be left over from the last time. So for example, I can here and I left top higher kind of filtered here in the source name. So if I now come into this report, I'm going to be like, hang on, this doesn't look accurate to me. And especially when this is rolled up, you're not really going to see that, and it can cause a lot of confusion. So one thing that I suggest doing is, the first thing to do when you see this is either check your filters, or an even easier version is just resetting your filters to default. So up here we have this button that says restore default filters. And then with one click, instead of going through each of the filters and trying to understand where the problem is, you just click that and it will restore to the original status. So I think that if you see that you feel like you're missing data, that's the first thing I suggest doing. Just kind of restore your filters. And then of course, if you still feel like you have information missing, feel free to reach out to us and we'll try and understand what's going on there.
Cool. I think we have one more here. It's regarding sources report. And does the sources report show how many candidates were submitted for each source?
Yeah, so here we're looking at kind of the number of candidates submitted by each source. So that's really what we're looking at here. It's the number of candidates added.
Okay, cool. And then you can break them down by clicking into any part of the pie chart, right?
Yeah, so if you, for instance, want to see just agencies, so you'll select that, and then also down here, you're going to be able to focus in on whatever is of interest to you.
Awesome. It looks like that's all we have. If anyone has, again, any additional questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to us through intercom chat within Comeet. So if you've never seen that before, it's a little circle chat icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the Comeet platform. You'll always be, sending a question directly to one of us, so it's not like a bot. So you're more than likely during US hours to speak with me. If you're in Israel or other parts of the world, you'll probably be speaking to my team in Tel Aviv. But again, we're always here to help you. If you have feedback or suggestions, definitely let us know. We hope to do more webinar series in the future. So thank you all for joining us over the past few weeks. Esther, thank you so much for taking us through Insights. It's such a super exciting feature that we have. So it's really great that we have you to kind of break this down for everyone. So appreciate that.
Yeah, happy to join.
Yeah, so that's it. So thank you so much, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have either a great night or a great day. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.